Wrestling fans from around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Tony, Mr. USA Atlas.
Always on cue. Before we get to tonight's full-length episode of Memories and Legends, let's hear from some of our great friends.
Great friends.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there, live.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome to another installment of Season 2 of Memories and Legends. I'm Dan Marty, joined by my paisan, my good friend, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas.
That's me.
Tony, I tell you, this season of Memories and Legends, we're making some memories with a legend.
Yeah,
We've had a lot to talk about, and you love to talk.
More than I need to.
Now, what about John Cena Sr.? Is he having a problem with the peace? He's been MIA.
Well, I wish he'd come back because I see where his son get his great talent from.
Yeah.
John
Cena Sr.
Yeah, he's a very talented individual. And it's kind of just shocking to me that he never had a job as a broadcaster or ring announcer.
Senior, you mean?
Oh, yeah, it just looked like, it's just his mindset, the way he talked, the way he could think on his feet.
Man.
Very, very classy man.
Him and I, we've had our issues on camera and off camera, but he's a classy man, and he cares a lot about the charities.
And I could kind of see him sitting at a commentating table with a rack and organization commentating the matches, you know, because he showed, he's a man that seemed like he loved life.
Yeah.
And he's very generous. He's very generous to people. And he raised a wonderful son.
He did?
I mean, to show you what a great father he is, you just look at his son. His son is a great role model for any kid to follow. I mean, he don't do drugs. There's no scandal. He works hard. He believes in his country, believes in his God, believes in himself. You know, it just, you know, you couldn't find a better role model for young people.
I'll tell you this, even though the John Cena that I know is, you know, the public figure that we see on TV, I can see some traits from Johnny in him sometimes. Yeah.
What they say, the fruit don't fall from the tree.
Yeah.
You know, so he raised a wonderful young man, and
all of his sons are all good eggs.
He don't ask his kids for nothing.
How do you know?
Well,
how do you know?
Because he does his own thing.
He does his own thing, but he could be, you know, hitting for a little scratch. You know,
maybe. Sure. Well, when he was young, Senior took care of Junior, so why not Junior throw a little bone to old Pops every now and then? I know when my kids grow up and get famous, and I like them to throw Grandpa a little something. I ain't gonna. I ain't gonna turn it down now. You hear me, grandkids? Especially my Nicholas, when you get on that football team there, become pro, and if they start making them millions and millions of dollars, don't forget old Grandpa here. I like to have myself a new Mercedes. Fix Grandpa up there, young'un.
All right, Tony, come on. I got to reel you back in again.
Reel me in, baby.
I need the fishing line.
Okay, I'm turning into the Sheik on you.
Well, I tell you, John Cena Sr., some of his episodes that he does with us become newsworthy. He had a little issue with Matt Hardy. I think it was right around New Year's Day. He said that John Cena Sr. needed to be deleted after one of the videos. Well, John Cena Sr. did an episode of the show about what he thought about Matt Hardy's woken, broken character. And Matt thought that John needed to be deleted.
Wow.
What do you think of that? Should he be deleted?
No.
No, all right. All right, well, that's John Cena Sr. Tonight, we're going to flash back.
This is America.
Right now, WWE is getting ready for their Super Showdown in Melbourne, Australia, another giant stadium show that's going to be sold out in 2018, a testament to just how great the professional wrestling business can be when it's at its best.
Right.
WWE will be at its best in Melbourne. We're going to flash back to one of the episodes we did in Season 1 of Memories and Legends when Cecil the Lion, Dave Galini's good friend, Gary Michael Capetta, was with us in studio. And there was a little petting going on, but that's a different story for a different time. Gary was here for a series of episodes, the legendary ring announcer from the old WWF, and WCW. And we focused in on 3 of the all-time greats of WWF. We want to talk about these men as you had experiences with all 3 of them. From the time, the era of wrestling maybe that I loved the best, and unfortunately, All three of them passed away last year, which was part of the reason why Gary and I did that episode. So where you have so many memories of these legends, let's dig in. The man that was my first favorite professional wrestler, George the Animal Steele.
George Steele, and be honest with you, in the wrestling world, made more enemies than friends.
Now, why is that? You're not the first person to have said that. And I'm interested in your honest point of view. Because you're an honest guy.
Back in the older days, they would call a guy like George Steele to the wrestlers now. Their opinion of him was a cutthroat, a stooge, and a backstabber.
Really?
He hurt a lot of guys' career.
Now, why is that?
There's two ways of rising to the top in pro wrestling. You pull yourself up by your own merits. Well, there are three ways. Pull yourself up by your own merits. Know somebody. Or pull somebody down to pull yourself up. And a lot of guys done that. That's why they all got office jobs. They were stooges.
You think that's what led to Steele becoming an office guy after he retired?
Yeah. I mean, I never had a lot of experience with him because back in the old days, the baby faces and the heels didn't socialize. But then when I talked to Bill Eden and a lot of guys, and you know, he heard a lot of Chief J. Strongbow told me that George Steele used to and Gorilla Monsoon used to cut my throat to Vince all the time.
Monsoon and Steele, really?
Yeah.
Any particular reasons for that? Were the
Well, no, they just, you know, to keep their job, they have to stooge on someone. If they don't have something to report to the office, Vince feels he don't need them no more. So to maintain their job, they was always looking for something they could report to hurt another wrestler. And unfortunately, George was one of them people. Rene Goulet, Tony Guerrero, they all were backstabbing, cutthroat stooges.
all the guys that wound up with the office jobs, huh? Really?
That's why you get it.
Huh.
I mean, why else would you have a guy in the office?
Well, good. What about
That's
Chief
why
J.
SD
Strongbow? I've heard very different.
When Chief didn't get the recognition that the other guys got because Chief would never tell on you.
Oh, really?
No, Chief would try to tell you to do that. But Vince liked the Chief not because of his ability to stooge, but he was more like Pat Powder. He had a great head for the business.
Chief J. Strongbow?
Yeah, the Chief was more of an advisor to Vince. Vince kept him along for his knowledge, and his loyalty, not so much for his stooging.
Yeah.
You know, because there was a lot of times that Chief said, he would tell me, he said, Tony, don't let the other guys see this because then I have to report it.
No, like what, for example?
Like if I was doing something, Chief would see me. I can't name a particular. Well, I can't because I can't think about it. I just could hear Chief when you started talking about when Chief was saying when I be doing something. The Chief would say, make sure that he said if one of the other boys hear about it, then I have to tell it. But he would always give you that little warning.
He tried to give you a little chance.
Yeah. He tried to give you a little chance, and he didn't get as as much money or stuff. He didn't. His career, they laid him off, but they take like Steele would make up stuff.
Really?
Oh yeah, he would go as far as making up stuff just to get them brownie points.
And we worked with George the Animal Steele the last weekend before I became crippled, WrestleMania 20 weekend in New York. I have memories of that. We got lost with him in New Jersey for 3 hours and didn't get back to the hotel till about 3 o'clock in the morning. But just based upon conversations I've had with different guys, for example, and you can tell me if this is true or not, George Steele is someone that would partake in a little fun after some of the live events with the boys back in the hotel, and then he'd be ratting them out that they were doing cocaine the night before.
Adrian Dahmer would do that too.
Really?
Yes.
Now, what do you think he got out of that?
Brownie
Trying to befriend the guys, be one of the boys?
That's how they kept their job, because their job was to stooge out the boy. So if they don't be in the office with a report, so every time they report somebody, Vince started thinking, oh, I really need these agents. I really need these guys, you know.
Well, if he was partaking in the same activity, how did that come across? Is it something the office didn't know about?
They bait
just,
you.
You think Steele was sent as this undercover operative?
No, Vince didn't tell him to do this. That was everything Steele did. Steele thought of himself. He would get you to do something.
He figured he'd go be one of the boys, go hang out with the boys, then he'd run to the payphone the next day.
I first got my lesson with Stooges. I don't know if I got time to tell this quick story.
Tell it, come on.
I was in 1975. I was riding from Raleigh, North Carolina to Charlotte, North Carolina, 74 or 75, somewhere along in there. I can't remember the exact year. But I remember I was sitting in the back seat of the car, and they said, Tony, how much money you made? And I said, I made $1,500 for the week. And they said, well, Rufus R. Jones made $2,500. I said, oh, wow. And they said, wouldn't you like to make $2,500? And I go, yeah. The next morning, George Scott called me and said, hey, Tony, I hear you was complaining about Rufus making more money than you. They would bait you. But I was in a car with a bunch of stooges.
How long did it take you to smarten up to them?
Well,
you were naive to it at first. Everybody is.
I didn't smarten up, to be honest with you, until probably about 10 years ago.
Well, it's an honest answer, if nothing else.
I didn't smarten up to it. That was the problem, you know. They would bait you. They would start the conversation about something, get you to feed into it. Then they would go and they would tell Vince, yeah, you know, I kind of worked that Tony. I kind of, you know, I said this just to see what he would say. What I should have said, oh, that's great for Rufus, but I'm very happy with what I got.
Then they'd have nothing to talk about.
Then they had nothing to debate. But I say, yes, I would like to make what Rufus make. And so when they tell the story, like Matt Darvashan said, if a story is worth telling, it's worth embellishing.
Embellishing.
Embellishing. Right. And Junkyard Dog used to always try to warn me. He said, you never talk to the horse's ass, you talk to the horse's head. So in other words, he would tell me, if you got any complaint about the business, talk to Vince directly.
Right.
Don't go and talk to an agent. Don't go and talk to another wrestler, because that wrestler gonna use what you said. And it's not just in wrestling, it's in any business. Like if I'm working with a company with him, and I want to move up the ladder, and then he trusts in me, and he would say something to me, well, now I got, he's giving me power to hurt him. He's giving me weapons to hurt him and power to help me. So I would bury him to motivate myself. Then the office look at me like I'm being real loyal to them. And they would get rid of, he would never know that, and they say, hey, see if you can find out what else he got to say. So then I started riding with him. And he started trusting me. He started talking, not knowing that if he got a complaint about, in other words, what they taught me and I didn't listen, when you're in the most dangerous part for a wrestler is in the car and in the dressing room. The safest spot for a wrestler is in the ring, for the ring is the only place a wrestler can protect himself. When you talk to people about the business, people will take what you say and use it against you. And you see the same thing on television.
Right.
A guy was like Hogan, we just got through talking, you know, same thing. They would take what you said and use it against you. So never badmouth your job on your job. Don't tell your co-workers what you think of your boss. Because when they go, like you may say, oh, my boss is a hard ass. When they tell the story, they're not going to say it where Tony Atlas said that you are hard ass. Tony Atlas said you had sex with your mom, you molest kids, wow. You're wanted for murder, or you sell dope. They add to it.
They embellish it.
They embellish it.
You should hear what they say about me here at the studio.
Yeah, by
including this gentleman here in the front row,
and
William Lloyd.
you're not there to defend yourself. See, anybody that talk about anybody when that person is not present to defend themselves, we call a coward.
Yeah.
You know, I was taught never talk about nobody unless they're in the room to defend themselves. And that's what these stooges do. They get you to talking, And then they would plant the seed. And if you're stupid, you fall for it. They say, oh man, they screwing us. Ronnie Piper put that in a book one time. I tried to stand up for the boys. And
he did, yep.
Is it Ronnie Piper book about the meeting? About the meeting. Remember reading that? And he said all the boys. So
for the fans that haven't read the book, there was a talent meeting with all the stars of WWF.
Yeah.
And take it from there.
And what it was, before the meeting, all the guys all week was complaining about the houses going up, but not their paycheck.
Right.
How can we be selling out everywhere, but getting the same money if we got when the building wasn't selling out? So everybody was talking about it. So Vince asked, anybody got anything they want to say? So I looked around, and nobody. Tony Atlas had to open his mouth, so I stood up, and I said, Vince, how come when I wrestled last month, and the house was down, and I got this amount, now that the house is up, I'm getting the same amount? He answered my question.
What did he say?
He said, well, you know, we got more expenses and it costs a lot more to produce the show. Before, when you was doing this, we didn't advertise. He started just went on and on with a whole bunch of lists of things. It just costs a whole lot more to produce the show now, Tony. Is there any more questions? So I sat back down. A month later, I was gone.
Now, this was '86?
Yeah. I got on the shit list. And Piper wrote about it in his book. I forgot all about it.
Oh, really?
But that's how it is. That's just how.
Why were you the only one to stand up, Tony?
Stupid.
Stupid.
I was stupid.
Did you get a couple of pats on the back after it was over?
Yeah. Oh, great job, Tony. Speaking up for the boys, standing up for the boys. Yeah, you stand up for the boys. Yeah.
Well, it didn't do you all that good.
Yeah. I'm making a sacrifice for the boys. What I did.
You took one for the team, in other words.
Yeah.
Did you know, after you made that statement, did you ever hear about the pay going up a little bit?
Yeah, they all did.
Because I'll tell you this, one thing.
In Piper book, he said they all made money at the expense of Tony Atlas being fired.
Oh, really?
That's what Piper wrote in his book. Yeah. I got the book at home. Yeah, Piper wrote about it.
He spoke fondly of you.
Yeah. Piper wrote about that. He called me the bodybuilder. He always looked at me. He didn't call me a wrestler. He said Tony the bodybuilder. Even in the book, Tony the bodybuilder.
Well, you were the bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Going back to George Steele, there was a guy that was a top guy for a long, long time. Do you think him being the Stooge is what helped him stay at that level? Or do you think maybe he didn't need to go the quote-unquote Stooge route because he was over? His character was over everywhere he went.
Everybody's over in the ring, but then we all know there's going to come a time you got to leave that ring. And he saw the new, fresh talent coming in. I mean, he was putting me over. In a steel cage match, I won. And he knew.
Oh, George Steele did jobs for you?
Well, I didn't pin him, but in the cage match.
You won the match, yeah.
Right, but I won the match. He put me over in the cage match. So he knew that he wasn't winning matches anymore. So he knew his time before he was in the ring. Because in the older days, when you get to that time, what they would do is send you to another territory. So you have two choices. Go to another territory, start your career over again, or try to maintain, stay where you're at. And he wanted to stay where that. He was established. He had a home there. His family was there. He was established there. He didn't want to travel up and down the highways anymore.
Well, he was only working part-time for WWF. He was a school teacher during the week, except in the summertime. Do you think he was maybe insecure as a heel? And when he saw guys like you coming in as baby faces, where he didn't have much of a physique?
That was natural for any job.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see the young kids coming in, every time, see the way a wrestler dressing room look, you come in the dressing room, everybody would treat you, hey, brother, good to see you, hey, brother, the big hugs, the kiss and everything. And then everybody's thinking, I wonder whose job he's going to take. Because there are only so many slots.
Right. Well, I'm going to...
Let's say you got 60 slots.
Yep.
And 62 people in the dressing room.
Couple got to go.
2 people going to go. But you don't know who them 2 are. So what they try to do, tell you a story that Piper told us. He went to WWE before.
Yes.
Before.
And you're talking like late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, that was, he was going to get a break. They were going to push him.
He was really young.
He was young, but they wanted him.
Yeah.
And what the deal was, he's supposed to go out and play the pipe, blow the bagpipe, right? Yeah. One of the guys was afraid that he was going to come in and take his job, so he went and talked to Freddie Blassett about he was afraid of losing his job to Piper. Freddie Blassett saw the bagpipes laying on the table. He took toilet paper and stuffed it in the bagpipe. So when Piper go out to blow, no sound. So here this freaking kid, always got
opportunity of a lifetime.
Opportunity of a lifetime. He's blowing on this pipe and there's no sound coming out. Embarrassed the hell out of everybody in the whole place started laughing at him. So he was a laughing stock. So Vince let him go. And
yeah.
he never.
Yeah, I heard that story.
He took that to his grave.
I could admit, who wouldn't resent that?
I mean, that was his, you know, and then of course, you know, his career went nowhere for a long time until he went to WCW, where they gave him another.
Oh, come on, Tony. What version of WCW are you talking about?
I mean, not WCW.
NWA.
NWA.
Okay, he got a great push there, yeah, in the early
then he
80s,
left and went down to NWA but he had to start his career all over. But he had his break right then.
He had the chance to do it earlier. I gotcha. You know, you get me thinking as we were talking about trying to stay on by stooging. What would WWF have done with George Steele if they didn't do that babyface turn to turn him into a comedic character? If he stayed a heel, he probably would have hit the exit on the door at some point because
the business was changing.
Right. The babyface turn was the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah, but the business was changing.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you like him as an agent?
No.
Same thing, a stooge?
Well, not on that. He was never nice to me.
Really? Why is that?
He tried to push my button all the time.
To piss
he used
you
to
off,
come up
you
and
mean?
hit me in the back as hard as he could, and every time I wanted to knock him on his ass.
Really?
But he wanted me to. He kept trying to get me to do stuff to get me fired.
Like what?
He was an evil son of a bitch.
Really?
He was a nasty motherfucker.
You can say it. Real George Steele, wow.
Yeah, there was nothing nice about George Steele, man. Nothing nice about it.
So you didn't shed too many...
Cutthroat, backstabbing, prick.
That's how you'd sum it up. You didn't shed too many tears when we lost George Steele.
No.
No.
When he started pissing in that bag, everybody celebrated.
Oh. Tony, how do you really feel? What?
He was out there. You ask all the guys. You ask Bill Lee, all the guys that work with that guy. No wrestler got anything nice to say about George Steele.
Well, that's why I love doing these shows.
He never helped nobody. Never did nothing for nobody in this business but himself.
You worked with the man.
Yeah.
You were around him.
What about that big piss bag hanging off of him?
All right, well, you're really into the piss bag.
All right, yeah.
It's a good thing that your foot friend wasn't around, or it could have been an explosion like a
took
water
needle.
balloon.
You know what I wanted? I wanted to take a little needle and puncture that thing.
Wow. All right, Tony. Well, I guess that's a good point. We'll take a brief time out. We come back. We're going to relive Memories and Legends Season 1 with your old friend Gary Michael Capetta. His thoughts on George Steele were a little different than yours. We're going to continue.
They're both in the office.
Capetta?
Anybody that do ring announcer or referee is office. All WWE referees are part of the office.
All right. Well, you heard it.
The referee were the first agent. They were the agents before they got agents.
The refs?
The ref was. So if you see a referee, you see Vince.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, Tony, we're going to take a brief time out. When we come back, we're going to take a walk down memory lane, one of my favorite eras of professional wrestling. This conversation we're having right now, I can almost go back in time.
No more Steele, right?
No, we're all done with Steele. We'll go into something else hard. We'll take a brief time out. We'll be right back, folks.
Yeah, let him burn in hell.
Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Wrestling Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marati.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Johnny, the momentum here in Boston Wrestling continues as we continue to build and build and build. The fans want to know, how do we help? We subscribe to the Patreon, but we see all the great merchandise on that set. Coronavirus may have killed the nightlife, especially for someone like Marty, but our acclaimed eBay store is open 24/7 around the world.
Wow. Check it out.
Arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. Get this limited edition collector's autograph print personally signed by two-time WWE Hall of Famer Nature Boy Ric Flair, inscribed 16 times for each of his recognized World Championship reigns. One of only 50 made direct from our friends at WWE. Also signed by original artist Rob Schamberger. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome Ric Flair collectible for your wrestling collection now.
Cheer. Why, hello. I would ask what was on your mind, but I already know. You want to know what has got my beard looking oh so majestic. And I'll tell you, it's sexy as hell beard care. Coconut oil, vitamin E oil, almond oil, both sweet and bitter, shea butter, it's all natural. Yes, JTG has actually come out with a high quality product. So support your boy by going to sahbeardcare.com and take one step closer to becoming sexy as
wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area. We want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889.
Wrestling fans, welcome back to another installment of Memories and Legends. I'm Dan Marati, joined by the
Mr. USA, two-time Hall of Famer, bodybuilder, and WWE Hall of Famer, Tony Atlas.
A man that did not send too many holiday greeting cards to the Steele family.
No.
Let's talk about a man that you had a heck of a lot of history with, a man that headlined the first event in MWF history. I got to know him through Tony Rumble's Century Wrestling Alliance, and a man that seemed maybe at his best the last time I saw him when we had him in for an event in 2013 as far as his mental capacity went. The Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Jimmy Snuka was ahead of his time.
Yes.
He was a phenomenon. You know, most wrestlers didn't lift weights, and Jimmy Snuka had a body of a bodybuilder, and guys didn't jump off the ropes back then in them days. I mean, there was nobody coming off the top rope. When Snuka stood up on the top rope, the whole audience would just stand up. You know, you got to realize Snuka was 275 pounds. He wasn't like, I mean, you got guys doing it now, but they weighed about 190, 200 at the most. But to see a man almost 300 pounds, and the way Snuka did it, it was amazing. You can see a lot of people jump off the rope. It looked like he hung up there for a while. It wasn't like a boom. When Snuka jumped, it was
he went up. He soared.
He soared. I've never seen that like if something would stop him in the air, and then he would come down and just really get to the bottom. Boom. Never seen nothing like it. I think he was one of the a great assets to the business. And as a person of experience with him, always treated me right. I don't have any complaint about Superfly. I mean, we got along good. We wrestled in Oregon together. We was out there in Portland, Oregon. I wrestled with him in Canada. I wrestled with he went to the NWA, Mid-Atlantic, back during the late 70s before he went to WWE. And when WWE, you know, he was a phenomenon. And even right now today, if you mention wrestling, people say, Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
People remember him 35 years after the fact.
After the fact, he would never, ever be forgotten in wrestling. He always going to be one of the, you know, he was the first big man to fly. And if you ever met him, a perfect gentleman. Just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful individual.
I didn't realize you went that far back with him into the 70s.
Yeah. He started, he was in bodybuilding. A lot of people don't know. He was Mr. Hawaii.
Now, did you two have any little tension, but you both were misters? Who was the better bodybuilder, you or Jimmy Snuka?
Well, I beat him.
What competition did you beat him in?
He was in Mr. North Carolina competition. Him and Ricky Steamboat, and I beat him in Mr.
You were in Mr. North Carolina?
Mr. North Carolina. Yeah, Mr. North Carolina.
Did you win the whole thing?
Yep.
Tony, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I learn fun facts about you every time you're here.
Yeah.
Wow, your bodybuilding accolades are something that I don't know that much about bodybuilding, obviously, if you take a look at me, but you know, you're just as accomplished in the world of bodybuilding as you are wrestling.
Well, with the people, I can't take any credit for that because the people that helped me, I would say the guy that helped me the most in bodybuilding was Lou Ferrigno. Because
really? You knew Lou Ferrigno?
Yeah, we were training partners. When I lived in Los Angeles, I trained with Lou. I used to meet him in the gym every morning, and we started the first set at 7 o'clock sharp.
What was Lou Ferrigno like? I don't know if his name is ever going to come up again on this show.
He was, I would say, 99% into his workout. Just to give you a prime example of how this man trained, I was in the gym, and we trained together for about a year and a half. And then one day, somebody came in the gym, and they recognized me. And they come up, hey, you that wrestler, ain't you? And I didn't want to be rude, so I said yes. And he said, oh, man, do you mind if I get your autograph? So the guy, I said no. So he had a little booklet. I pulled it out. I said his autograph. I went back to do my set with Lou. And Lou said, the reason I like working out with you because you don't talk. And he never trained with me again.
Really?
They were so serious. See, what I didn't realize, I was wrestling and bodybuilding. But with Lou, that was it. So you disturb his workout, you was, And Arnold was the same way. Arnold Schwarzenegger,
you knew Arnold well?
Glad. Yeah,
I didn't know that either.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was the same way. When he worked out, don't bother him. He was the exact same way. Because these guys did it for a living.
Right.
You know, they didn't go to the gym to socialize. They didn't go to the gym to laugh and joke. They went there to train. And I remember I did legs. I worked out with Lee Heenan, and I did legs one time with Tim. Tom Platz was his name. Had huge thighs like this, and we got through. And when you finish training legs, if you could walk out of the gym, you didn't do no legs. I mean, after the leg workout, we had to lay in the floor and just lay there until the blood would leave our legs so we could walk. We couldn't walk when we got through doing legs.
Wow.
I mean, we pushed ourselves to the max. And that's why the guys look like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, oh, it's all steroids, all bull crap. In my steroid days, I only took it 2 months out of a year.
I've been told, not your particular cycle, but I've been told by guys that there is a quote-unquote healthy way to do it.
2 months a year.
And I tell you this, those are the guys that are still alive right now.
2 months a year. Yeah. Here's the reason why. Let's say in September, I take the steroid in September.
Right.
It'll take a month for it to leave your system after you stop. So even though I took it in September, in October, it stayed in my system. So it ain't out of my system. Even though I took it for 1 month, I'm on for 2 months, no matter how you slice it.
Right.
It's stayed in my system.
It's in your system.
Now you have to lay off twice the amount of time that you was on in order before you do it again. So if steroids is in your system for 2 months, you have to lay off for 4 months. So in reality, the only safe way of taking them, and the reason for that, your body only produces what it needs. Steroid is really what your body produces. It's called testosterone. It's a male hormone called testosterone. You produce it in your testicles. Now, when the body only produces what it needs, so when I'm taking an artificial testosterone, my body is not producing testosterone. That's why your testicles shrink, because they're not working. So for 2 months, it ain't working. You understand? So you have to lay off in order for your natural process to stay at work. You shut that system down for a long time. The body is like a car. You can buy a brand new car today, let it sit in your yard for about a year or two, and then go start it, won't start. Where the body is no different. You shut anything down in the body for a long period of time, it have a hard time starting back. So what I used to do, I used to compete in 2 contests a year. I picked 1 powerlifting meet at the beginning of the year, and then I would go for a bodybuilding meet at the end of the year. So I used to compete twice a year. And that's the only safe way of doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this as someone that's kind of an
And what's good about doing it that way, when you come off, you don't lose everything. Not to put him down, but if you see y'all remember Alvin Puskett?
Oh, yeah.
The way he
looked.
looked.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Alvin Puskett weighs about 120 pounds now.
I seen him. We had him here in the MWF. He was you wouldn't know that was Ivan Putski. He was Polish, but I don't know what happened to the power.
He was 260 pounds at 5'8". Now he's 5'8" and weighs 120 pounds.
Small
Don't have
guy.
no muscle because he stayed on too long. Superstar Billy Graham has got a lot of health problems now because he
That's
stayed
an understatement.
on.
Yeah.
Well, because when you come off, your
he never went off.
Right. Well, when you come off, your natural hormones were shut down for so long that they can't operate under normal capacity anymore. See?
Then you need to get on the testosterone.
Yeah, yeah. You have to take it for the rest of your life because your body's not producing.
And for those,
and it's hard to get a woman pregnant too because you have a low sperm count.
Does the testosterone, when you take that after the fact, does that still help the guys when it comes to the gym?
Yeah, but you're taking a hell of a chance of burning out your liver and kidneys. And plus, it deteriorates the joints.
Yeah.
So instead, you're damaging your liver and your kidneys. It's very, very toxic. And the only way you have to drink so much water to keep the system clean. And you can't drink any other toxins. Like you can't be drinking coffees and sodas and other toxins.
Really? If you're taking steroids, you're not supposed to drink even coffee?
Well, it's more toxic.
Yeah.
See, everything got some toxins in it. Mm-hmm. So the water helps flush out all these toxins in the body. And steroid just puts so much in it. You know, the pill itself and the drug itself is so toxic. And then the only liquid you take is other toxins. A toxic can't clean toxic. It's kind of like taking a dirty mop and mopping your floor. I mean, what are you doing?
Exactly.
You know,
All right, that's
you
a good
use
analogy.
dirty mop to mop your floor, you know. So, yeah, and you know, your organs can only take so much abuse. You see, we got in our body what we call antibiotics that is there to fight off things that don't belong in the body. Mm-hmm. And so when you put something in the body that don't belong, your antibodies work very hard to. That's why a lot of guys get what they call steroid rage and stuff of this week because the body is going nuts because it's so toxic. They're trying to get rid of. Then we see guys like breaking out with zits because the toxins are looking for some place to go.
Looking a way to escape almost.
Yeah, a lot of toxins. Yeah, toxic. You're pausing in your body, you know.
All right. Well, we'll
because it's an unnatural. It's unnatural.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Back to Jimmy Snuka. How did you see the guy change as time went on? Happy Hawaiian when he entered the business and.
Happy Hawaiian when he left. He never changed.
He certainly had his fair share of problems.
Yeah.
There is a guy, and I'll ask you since you were there, do you think that Snuka was on par with Hogan as far as how hot he was at his peak in WWE?
If he was what now?
As hot as Hogan.
Could have been.
Yeah. And obviously he had a lot of drug problems, alcohol problems.
A lot of guys did, yeah.
Was he as unreliable as you became at some points, as far as no-showing dates? And
Yeah.
he was.
He missed a couple of shows too, yeah.
Do you think that Snuka could have taken Hogan's spot and has been as successful?
No.
Why is that?
Wrong nationality.
Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Now, why couldn't a Hawaiian succeed in Hogan's spot?
Because you got to realize what put Hogan where he were. The Ayatollah Khomeini made Hulk Hogan.
You love this story, yep.
And the Iron Sheik. They was holding the American hostages. And Vince got the bright idea to put the belt on an Iranian. And that's where it started. It didn't start with Hogan. And they needed an all-American boy. And a Samoan did not represent, during that period of time, what we would consider an all-American. You know, he didn't look American.
All right,
so
fair
he didn't
enough.
have that American look. You know, he had an Allen look, but not what you call an American. Hogan was blonde hair, brown skin, and blue eyes. I mean, you couldn't get more American, what they perceive as an American.
Right.
During that time. Hogan was the right, couldn't nobody have done it but him.
Really?
No, not during that time. Hogan was the only person who could have pulled that off.
So Snuka was...
He was a minority. And then from 1980...
Well, let me ask you this. Who was second on the depth chart when it came to the baby faces, Snuka or Andre?
Andre was a phenomenon. I mean, they couldn't put the belt on.
He was an attraction. He didn't need a belt.
He was an attraction.
Right.
Yeah. He was an attraction. You see, what a lot of people don't realize, from 1980 to 1985, all of your top stars in the WWE at that time was minorities.
It was a great mix.
There was all minorities up. Puerto Rican, Pedro Morales,
yep.
Italian. Hogan was the first great white champion. That's why he popped so much. It's kind of like in boxing right now. Boxing, if you could get a white guy that could box, the last time they, and you can look this up, the last time outside of Rocky Marciano, who was Sicilian, outside of him, the last white heavyweight champion of the world was in 1910.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's why boxing died. Once a book, and it's not racism, once a book been read, it's old. See? Yeah, if you think of all your champions, I mean, you start naming them and you put them up there, you know. You look at Ali, Norton, Farmer, Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson. What all of them got in common? They're minorities.
Right.
And Hogan broke that chain. They had one Caucasian wrestler with Bob Backlund.
Right. Yeah, and he had, not for nothing, he had a 6-year run almost as the world champion.
As world champion.
Right.
But they wanted to take the belt off, and the only reason he stayed that long because Senior just refused to do it. And even when Junior wanted to take it off of him, they had to take it off of him with the sheet. Backlund would not drop the belt to Hogan. And that all the wrestlers, he was not going to drop that belt to Hogan.
And he didn't want to drop it to Bill Eadie either.
Right, so and he didn't want to drop it to Sheik. Skolnick had to throw the towel in. Bob was not going to let that belt go. The last big superstar, Caucasian superstar in the WWE was Gorgeous George.
What was the comment again?
Caucasian superstar was Gorgeous George.
He worked for the McMahons?
Well, it was WWF then. He was the last big star around the New York area because superstar Billy Graham was Jewish.
Coleman is a Jewish name?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, superstar is Jewish. Yeah.
Well, we could talk a lot about Billy Graham off the air. It's a different story.
But
for
he
a
was not
time.
Caucasian, you see. And so that's why Hogan broke that trend. It's kind of like when the first, like, in other words, Hogan was like Jackie Robinson in baseball.
Yeah.
Or Tiger Woods in golf. Or the Williams sister. Or President Obama as president. He was the first in a long time. What a lot of people didn't realize.
Do you think it bothered Snuka that he could have been as hot as Hogan and he didn't get?
No.
Why is that?
Because we didn't see it that way. you know, we were not what we call glory happy.
Professional wrestlers had no ego and were not glory happy.
Well, we had ego, but we knew that was Hogan's spot. Nobody wanted his belt. I didn't want to do what Hogan did. Nobody wanted to do that. Hogan didn't sleep. Snuka went to bed.
You would have
that
had
night.
the Hogan money.
He made just as good as Hogan.
Snuka?
Yep.
All right.
He made good money too.
Well, you were in the territory.
Snuka was making in the '80s, brother, $8,000 to $10,000 a week.
Wow, and I know he did big in Japan too.
Yeah, why he's going to complain about what Hogan got? We didn't care what Hogan made. We was making money. See, when people, everything is like a cake. You got a big birthday cake. As long as I got my slice, I don't mind you getting a slice of that cake.
That's the way it should be.
That's how it was.
Well, wrestling can be odd sometimes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we know we couldn't do. We knew by the fans.
Well, if Snuka was as hot as Hogan.
The houses didn't show that.
All right. Well, you were the one that lived it. You were there.
The houses did not show that. Snuka could take could go through LaGuardia Airport and get hassled a little bit. Hogan couldn't even go through the airport.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah, it was a big difference, brother. Trust me.
What was the reaction to the? I don't know how exactly you want to label it, but when Jimmy Snuka's mistress died, and just right before his death last year was in court, possibly going to go to jail for murder. What was the reaction at that point? One of the top stars in the company. There was some controversy that went on that night. Jimmy Snuka.
They were talked about for about 2 hours.
Really? 2 hours? And do you think at that point the guys realized it was going to be a huge news story 30-plus years later?
There was no internet.
Fair point.
Nobody knew about it but the wrestlers.
And what was the talk in the locker room?
Nothing.
No one thought, was it an accident? Was it a
nobody
murder?
about it.
No one really talked about it.
They were talking about once they left that George Washington Hotel, that was the end of it, and it didn't come up again until Snuka wrote his book and put a different story in the book than what the prosecutor had. And the prosecutor reopened the case.
Right.
And that's how it happened. But it was not talked about for years, not even mentioned.
Interesting. Well, what do you think, Tony? Did it affect Snuka at all after it happened? He just went right on.
I think it affected him the rest of his life.
Right. Did it show in his work?
Well, that's where he got really, not in his work, but that's where he got really, really involved with drugs.
With the drugs.
I think he used drugs to drown that out. I think it tore him, I think he was deeply in love with this girl, and they just had a squall, and something happened, and she ended up dead. And I think it was something he took to his grave, and he was never, never the same after that.
Do you think it could have been a case of roid rage? We mentioned that just a little while ago. Jimmy Snuka wasn't a natural man.
We see, a man should never touch a woman.
Correct.
Especially one as strong as him.
Correct.
And when you drunk or high, you could just do like just a little regular slap and hurt somebody.
Like getting hit by King Kong.
Yeah, man. You know, one time I got mad one time, this guy kept messing with me, and I just turned this open hand slap, and I slapped him and knocked him out.
Open hand slap?
Open hand slap, but I had a 650 bench.
Right.
And I remember, Chief was in the room there. Chief says, a good thing you didn't punch him, you would have killed him. That's what Chief Stormer told me. Say, if you had punched him, you would have killed him. But we had so much power.
Right.
You know.
What about when he got hit in the head with the coconut?
Then they cracked it on his head.
Well, and everyone's laughing, but I mean, that you see it nowadays, things are gimmicked and whatnot, and tried to prop, so to speak.
It split him open.
That wasn't a propped coconut.
No,
that was, you went to the supermarket, bought it, and Roddy Piper bashed it over his head and it exploded.
He had a 3-inch cut on his head from that.
I'm sure that, and Roddy Piper has said that he felt
and I'll tell you something
that did something to
something else a lot of people didn't realize. When he fell into the thing, he was out.
Out?
Piper knocked him out.
Unconscious, yeah.
He was out for real.
Wow.
That's why he lay there like that.
I mean, it led to a tremendous feud and did some great business, but at the same time...
You know he wasn't supposed to lay there.
He was not?
No, he's supposed to get up and do the thing and scare Piper off and challenge him. He's supposed to cut a promo. He was out like a light, brother. Piper knocked him out with
Were you there for that TV taping? Yeah, I thought you were.
Yeah, me and Rocky was tag team partners there.
Okay, yep,
That's
exactly.
right. Because we did Piper Pit right after that.
Oh, did you?
Me and Rocky.
Yeah.
That's right. We was on the following Piper pit.
Wow.
Right.
I just, you know, what Roddy Piper said about it afterwards really makes you think. Of course, it was one of the great angles in wrestling history when Piper did that. Everybody that watched it remembers it. Everybody, you know, people in the audience now were laughing about it.
See, what a lot of people didn't know, the wrestler was trying so hard back then to legitimize themselves.
Right.
They wanted it to be legitimate.
And I don't think either Piper or Snuka were worried about someone laying it in.
No.
No, not at all.
No. In fact, they got mad at you if you didn't.
Hey, now you're talking. Did you see any difference in Snuka after that happened? Was he a little...
He became a lot more humble and a lot more
after he got hit with the...
Well, he was never sober after that.
Really?
Never sober after that.
Do you think maybe there was some pain that went on that he didn't want to talk about with other people?
Right. Yeah, of course he will. Come on. I mean, you know, you got a woman you love and something happened and she ended up dead. I mean, he had to live with that.
He never spoke about it?
No. Nobody ever spoke to him about it.
Do you think he made a mistake putting it in the book? I mean, look at what it turned the end of his life into when he was battling stomach cancer.
What happened was when people write books, they started asking you questions and, you know, you want to be accommodated as possible. And then you know, yeah. And he couldn't remember what he told the cops. And then I'm sure you've heard the story that... But he wrestled that night? Vince showed up at the police station with a mysterious briefcase. And then him and Jimmy left, and nothing more was said about it. What's that again? They got buried.
They got buried. And I wonder what was in that briefcase.
Yeah, nobody knows. Got buried.
No one knows what was in the mysterious briefcase in Pennsylvania.
No.
Well, all I can say, Tony, is that I like Jimmy Snuka. I thought he was a heck of a nice guy.
Like I said,
phenomenal talent.
We all, sometime in our life, make one stupid mistake. In the Bible, judge not yet ye be judged. Because he who is without sin cast the first stone. We all have sinned. We all have did something that we're not proud of.
Yeah.
And for us to ignore our wrongdoing and then try to make ourselves holier than thou by putting down someone else and criticizing someone else's mistake. We got to stop doing that. We have to start looking at what we could do to improve ourselves. You can't improve your life by destroying another person's life. If a person is down, don't kick him, help him up.
That's a good way to look at it.
See? Let's go back to the Hogan thing. I don't appreciate anybody bad-mouthing this guy for a mistake he made. Out of so many years of doing good for the fans and for the company and the sacrifice. None of them guys that say anything about Hogan ever put in the sacrifice he put in. They wouldn't do it. They would quit the company if Vince worked them like that. That man sometimes...
Not everybody could live up to that schedule. You're right about that.
They can't live up to that schedule. He did it, and he did it, and they did it without complaint.
He did it well.
And did it without complaint.
I lost track of Jimmy Snuka. I know what I wanted to ask. Did you run into Jimmy at all, and I'm sure you probably did, towards some of his final years before he got stomach cancer?
Yeah.
I found Tony, and I knew the man, like I said, from the mid-'90s with working with Tony Rumble, and then his early appearances in the MWF. I couldn't believe how clear-headed he was in 2013.
Yeah.
It was a different guy.
Yeah.
You think it was that he was off the drugs? Do you think it was he stopped drinking?
Yeah.
What are you attested to?
His wife.
She was a nice lady. Carol was a nice lady.
You know, I wish my wife had came because we always talking about the wrestlers. But our lives are so easy compared to the lives of our wives.
Think of what they have to deal with at home. Yep.
When I first met my first wife, we used to be I worked for Mid-Atlantic, and I stayed in Charlotte. So we wrestled in Charlotte on Monday. Tuesday, we left and went to Raleigh. We stayed over in Raleigh to do TV the next day. So that's 2 days he didn't see me. Then I left for Raleigh on Thursday and went to Norfolk. Then I left from Norfolk and to go to Richmond on Friday. Then Saturday, I was in Charlottesville on Roanoke. So here's a brand new bride that seen me one day a week.
Right. And then you throw into scenarios where
Rufus
you
R.
have...
Freight Train Jones was wrestling in Charlotte, North Carolina. His family was in Kansas City, Kansas.
Oh, wow.
He saw his wife at Christmas time. She went Bret the Hitman Hart, when he lived in Canada, his wife was in Canada. He was entertaining the fans here in the States. And he saw his wife maybe, if he was lucky, one day a month.
Wow.
And these wives stick with the guy. When we saw...
Then you throw kids in.
Yeah, we
it's
saw...
even worse.
Yeah, we saw, like a couple of months back, you know, you saw me. I threw my back out, a sciatic problem, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even get up out of bed to go use the restroom. My wife went through all that with me.
Good lady.
You know, when these guys come home injured, the wives are right there with them 100%. The wives go through so much. Well, take like, for example, the late Bruiser Brody. He was, if you talk to his wife, he was very rarely home.
Yeah.
She didn't really have a life with him.
Right.
He was always gone. He saw his wife maybe, if he was lucky, once a week. Now imagine a woman getting married and you only see your husband in a whole year, maybe 10 days a year.
But I'll tell you this, I bet they had a nice wedding with our good friends at KL Wedding Planners. Great job.
A lot of guys would have their wedding and leave that night.
Right, and I've heard of that, yep. They get married and then they have a show the night of the event. Isn't that something? Did that happen with you when you got married?
Yep, I wrestled that night.
Where did you get married?
I got married in Georgia, my first marriage.
Yeah, and you wrestled that night where?
And that night I went to, what's the name, Macon, Georgia.
What did your wife think? Instead of going on a honeymoon, you went to Macon, Georgia.
Yeah, to wrestle.
Did she go with you?
No.
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 She went home.
Well, she had all her, they had a reception and everything.
You just weren't at the reception,
Right,
I
right.
see.
She was there by herself.
Wow.
No.
It is a life that you have to live it to truly understand.
Like right now today, any woman that married a WWE wrestler, she would see that guy 2 days a month. 2 days a week.
And that's great compared to the old schedules.
That's a good schedule.
That's a good thing,
right,
yeah,
right,
compared to what the olden days
were like. So for 5 days a week, she don't see her husband.
Right.
5 days a week.
Well, Tony, in the end, how do you think Jimmy Snuka will be remembered by the fans? How should he be remembered by the fans?
As a WWE superstar, you know, one of the great assets to pro wrestling.
Where Hulk Hogan was just reinstated into the WWE Hall of Fame, do you think Jimmy Snuka will be reinstated?
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's a shame.
That's a tough one.
That's a shame.
I know.
If only there were definite answers about what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can see both sides of the coin.
Big corporation. See, everything is about lawsuits now. So a lot of corporations, anything that any legal matter come up, they just disassociate themselves with it. Sometimes unjustly.
Yep.
But nevertheless, well, the same thing in any business now. I mean, you get one little scandal and the company.
That's it.
You know, it don't take a lot now to destroy your career. It used to be you had to do a lot to lose your career. I mean, you don't have to do a whole lot.
All it takes is a couple of tweets, and that's it.
It don't take
It's a crazy
much
time.
Yeah. You got to be so careful in what you say and what you do today, because any little thing, you know, could cost you the rest of your. What perfect example is Roseanne.
Well, we talked about Roseanne.
Yeah, but
back when it happened.
Be honest to you, to me, she ain't saying nothing all that wrong.
All right. Well, this is a segment about the Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah, but that's my point. I mean,
I got to get the fishing. I got to get the fishing reel out.
Yeah, but it's pretty much the same thing to me. You know, it's like something.
Well, to me, it sums up simple. If he's innocent, he should be right back in the Hall of Fame where he belongs, and whatever royalty.
How are you going to prove it now?
That's what I mean. And
both
whatever
parties, the only people that was in the room, they're both dead.
Whatever royalty money he's owed, I think, should be repaid to if somehow he was ever found.
No, they keep that. You know.
I know. Well, we do know that.
It's kind of like Social Security. You die before you receive it, the government keeps it.
All right, well, Tony, we're going to take a brief timeout. We're going to be back to wrap up the show in our final segment as we flash back again to season 1. Gary Michael Capetta was with us on these same topics, a good friend of Cecil the Lion. We'll be right back.
WWE is coming home to Kansas City with Monday Night Raw. WWE is back with Monday Night Raw in Kansas City, Monday, July 26th. Tickets on sale now.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
Support Wrestling Insider's in-studio shoot interviews on eBay with this brand new personally autographed WWE Royal Rumble 2021 11x14 poster signed by WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, his advocate Paul Heyman, and Kevin Owens. Reigns and Owens battled for the Universal title in a last standing match January 31st in the Thunderdome in Tampa. This limited edition collector's poster is number 31 of only 50 produced. Comes with WWE authentication hologram on the poster itself. Also comes with an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas and a bonus autographed 8x10 photo. Get this rare, awesome collectible for your man cave and help keep wrestling legends working now. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021. Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, it is a big weekend here in the world of professional wrestling. WWE's having a super showdown, and we have here the Hall of Famer himself, Tony Atlas. We're reliving some fun we had with Gary Capetta last fall, not as much fun as Cecil had with him, but we talked about Jimmy Snuka, a man you had a lot of respect for. We talked about a man that you don't have much respect for, George the Animal Steele. Let's talk, last but not least, about a guy that I have so much admiration for and so many positive feelings, both as a talent and when we had him here in the Millennium Wrestling Federation, the man I consider to be the greatest manager of all time, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Oh, okay. This is going to be good. All right, come on, Tony.
Well, see the reason I smile.
All right, come on.
Wait, this
come
is
on.
the reason.
He's getting buried now.
Well, this is the reason I smile. If I add up every conversation that I ever had with Bobby the Brain Heenan,
yeah,
it would come out to about 2 minutes. He never talked to me.
Well, you were a peer of his for a long time. You wrestled him in the ring a few times, even.
Never, we never had a conversation.
Never.
Never.
You know nothing about Bobby Heenan.
Nothing about
Good,
Bobby
bad,
Heenan.
or somewhere in between.
I never. He's like a stranger to me.
What did you think of him as a talent?
Hell of a talent.
Hell of a talent.
He was a phenomenal. But I tell you this much, I got to know Bobby the Brain Heenan, believe it or not, at the end of his life.
Now, how's that?
Because where he had throat cancer.
Oh, absolutely. What a horrible,
right?
horrible thing he went through.
Throat cancer.
Yeah.
But I used to go to events, and I would see him sitting there, and he'd speak to me, I speak to him, and I watch him, and the strength he showed. I mean, it's phenomenal. The phenomenal strength for the man to sit there and half of his face is gone.
Half of his face was taken
but still
off.
Is able to meet
still going
and
out
greet,
and meet and greet.
Still go out to make his appointment and meet the greet. I never had much to do with him because I was in when I first started my career. I was wrestling for. Well, I wrestled Nick Bockwinkel. So I don't know how that happened because I think Bockwinkel used to travel a lot like Harley Race did.
He used to do Houston an awful lot. I know that.
It probably
Maybe
was
Houston?
Texas
Yeah.
or Houston or something. But I remember I wrestled him that night, and we were dressing upstairs. And one of the old timers said, well, don't forget to thank him for the match. It was just courtesy to thank your opponent for the match. So I was waiting at the top of the steps for him, and Bobby was fussing at him.
Bockwinkel?
Well, fussing at Bockwinkel. He said, you gave him too much.
Talking about you?
Talking about me. Mm-hmm. He said, you gave him too much. And Bockwinkel said, well, he's a young kid. I'm trying to show him something. He said, oh, you should have squashed him. That's what he was telling Bockwinkel.
What was it like to work with Bockwinkel?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He was such a non-selfish in the ring, you know, that even though he was world champion, he tried to make you look as good as possible.
And that was really the world champion's job. Make the guy as believable enough to think that you really could win the title.
I remember Bobby used to fuss at him about that. That's what I remember the most about Bobby Heenan.
He didn't like that.
He didn't like that.
No, you didn't like that.
Well, it's not that I dislike it. I just remember it. You know, I had no feelings about it. I just remember him coming up them steps. He said, you gave him too much. You should have squashed him. He's just a kid. He's just a beginner. You know, you the world champion. He just trying to, I guess he was just trying to pump him up. And then I think me and Bobby may have had maybe one or two conversations. When he was announcer, he shitted all over me.
Well, that was his job. He was a heel.
Not just in the ring. I mean, not just on broadcast.
No, what do you mean he shit on you?
Every see me in the dressing room, make remarks and
What would he say?
Dumb, that word.
Say it.
I ain't going to say that word. I don't
Well,
like
we
that
know
word.
what you're talking about.
I ain't going to say
Bobby said that to you?
Oh, yeah.
Did he?
Yeah. So I didn't have much for them guys.
But you got to know him a little bit after the fact.
Well, I just admire his strength when he got cancer. I mean,
Anyone,
I kind of forgot all the past, and I was just looking at him as a man, and I had a lot of respect for his strength. But when he was working with Monsoon and them guys, he treated me like I was a piece of crap.
Really?
Yeah.
From a non-personal point of view, where would you rank him amongst the great managers in wrestling?
Oh, as far as talent concerned, I mean, he was the best.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, above all of them, Freddie Blassie, Wizard, Captain Lou.
I wasn't around for the days of Wild Red Berry, but from everyone I've seen the past...
No, he was the best. I mean, he was one of the most talented. And they never were able to redo Monsoon and them guys. You see the reason a lot of guys they talk to me about, a lot of guys that you guys know, and I say this when I did Legend House, and all the wrestlers say the same thing. That was the first time they gave us a chance to know each other.
Right.
See, wrestlers really don't know each other. They have what they call cliques.
Yep.
You know, and I was black. I couldn't hang out with them white guys.
Your clique, as you said, was pretty much S.D. Jones.
If they, yeah, ain't no white guy was going to ride with no black wrestler back in the 80s.
Well, I just...
in the 70s, just to give you an example of how things was, not just in the restaurant, but in the... I used to go to restaurants in the 70s now, and they would go in, they sit down at the counter, they eat. And they had to bring my food out to the car because I couldn't go in that restaurant.
Really? Wow.
This is in the 70s. I mean, there were no signs that said you couldn't go in, but it was well known you wasn't welcome. You know?
Well, I got to say, Tony, I was really looking forward to this episode, but it was a real downer.
Well, yeah, well...
But it's the truth. It's an honest episode.
Yeah.
Do you have any funny stories about any of those three guys?
No, because
Jimmy Snuka, did you travel with him at all? Did he do anything humorous coming from the Fiji Islands in Hawaii? Anything about Jimmy?
No.
You know, you make me dislike Bobby Heenan now.
And
you reaffirm stories I heard about George Steele.
Bobby was a great guy. It's just that I wasn't part of his clique.
Right, right.
You know, he had...
Well, I don't like how he disrespected you.
Well, they all did. That was the business.
Yeah.
That just... Vince Jr. changed a lot of it. But even now today, it ain't changed as far as cliques. I mean, when I was with Mark Henry in 2008,
yeah.
Guess how many people I hung around in 2008?
You said just a couple. Him, Teddy Long.
That was it.
Yeah. All right. Well.
I mean, the Miz didn't want. I mean, I with the guy for 2 years. I couldn't tell you not one thing about any WWE wrestler. Not even the Miz. None of them.
Did you have an instance with the Miz, or you just didn't know?
I mean, they say hi to you when they see you. That was about it.
So these are people you'd say hello to every day.
And just keep moving.
Would they give you the shake?
And then you keep moving.
Yeah. They
wouldn't talk to you. None of them guys socialized with me. The only way they socialized with me was I got Shelton Benjamin.
Shelton's a great guy. Former MWF heavyweight champion.
VIP.
I just texted with him the other day.
Yeah, VIP.
MVP.
John Morrison.
Yeah.
John Morrison talked to me occasionally. That was it.
You're an interesting guy to talk to. I don't know why they didn't take advantage of that.
I sat in the dressing room all day long. They wouldn't say 2 words to me. I did it for 2 years.
You and I have said more than 2 words.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like that now. It's always been very cliquish.
Yeah.
Now when you see them on TV, yeah. But as soon as the match is over, everybody go there.
All right. Well,
and I'll tell you something else that is different between the guys today compared to the guys back in my day.
What do you got?
Today, in the olden days, if you break down the side of the road, the wrestler will stop and help you. Today, you break down the side of the road, they pass you right by.
They keep going.
They sure will.
Did that happen to you?
Yeah, it happened to me and Mark Henry.
Who drove by you after you were broke down?
All of them, except for 2 guys.
Who?
One of the guys is back, and one of them, he's the son of Terry Gordon.
Oh, okay. He's not with them anymore.
No.
But Ray Gordy is his name.
Right.
He was
Terry
with Festus
and the other guy.
Anyone remember Festus and what was the other guy's name?
Lou Gallows.
Luke Gallows is Festus, but his partner was. No. This is Festus and Terry Gordy's son. Who? Jesse.
Yeah.
He wins the prize.
Yeah.
Jesse and Festus. Yeah.
Yeah, but
he stopped to help you out.
But Lou Gallows and Lou Gallows and Jesse, they stopped to help us.
They did.
They sure did.
I think Luke Gallows is a pretty good guy.
Luke Gallows is a great guy.
Yeah.
I love
very
Luke
friendly
Gallows.
guy, too.
He's a wonderful guy. And they stopped to help me and Mark Henry.
Who drove by you and kept going?
All of them.
Who? I want names.
Well, it was the whole show. I mean, they all beat the horn.
But are you sure that it was wrestlers that didn't stop that drove by? It was a highway at night.
We were leaving the building.
Oh, this was right at the building.
Yeah.
Okay,
we only like a.
Now, see, I'm picturing some deserted highway.
No, see, most buildings is like right by the interstate.
Right.
So we was in Alabama and we pulled on the interstate. We was on 85. We was only maybe 10 minutes from the building. So all the boys was leaving the building and they saw me and Mark there. Mark trying to wave people down, and they just waved us and kept going.
Tony, these are always.
And then when Westwood came by,
he's got more. What do you got?
Where they're not friends. People don't realize wrestlers are not friends. They always think it. See, a wrestler, the best way to describe a wrestler is that John Cena is Burger King, Undertaker is Wendy's.
That was his nickname.
Who?
Undertaker.
What?
Wendy.
Come on now.
Swear to God on the kids' lives.
I wouldn't say that to him.
Undertaker was Wendy and Paul Bearer was Pooh Bear.
Oh, come on now.
Swear to that were their nicknames.
What they're talking about.
Swear to God. Mercy, strike me dead if I'm lying. Those were their nicknames.
But see, the problem with wrestlers, they're not bad guys, is that you got to realize they all independently employed.
Right, I understand
it's not
that.
A
I
team.
understand. I know.
That's the problem, and that's why there's no emotional contact with nobody. Because just stop and think about it. When a wrestler died, it's like nothing.
I dislike that.
It's like, great, more room for me.
They lost Masa Saito, who played a big part in the early 80s.
Anytime a guy could fall from the ceiling and splash his guts all over a ring, and the wrestler get mad because he's holding up the show, and they can't do their thing. That's wrestling.
Is that a true statement?
That's wrestling.
Is that a true statement?
Yeah, with Owen Hartfield, nobody cared.
You don't think anyone cared?
No.
Well, I
no,
don't
they
know
went on
about
with
that.
the show. Like
they went on with the show.
Brother, and the same with Brody. I seen it. I saw the wrestlers after the fact.
All right, well,
nobody was sad.
Someday we're going to have to...
The only one was sad was Brett.
Someday we're going to have to do, and he was in a different company. We're going to have to do a show about wrestling's greatest scandals, maybe. That would be an interesting one.
Every time one happened, it's like nothing.
All right, well...
The show goes on, and then after the show, they're in the bar drinking and laughing and joking, talking about their match.
Well,
not even talking about what happened.
It sounds like what I'm going to do with Kowloon in about 15 minutes. But, Tony, this was a downer of an episode. We got some great insight on George Steele. Jimmy Snuka is someone I think everyone's going to remember, and Bobby Heenan, you admired the man at the end, which I think can be nice.
Give you a prime example.
All right, what do we got?
What happened with Snuka's daughter and son? Anybody trying to help them?
Well, Snuka's daughter is still with WWE.
What's she doing?
She wrestles.
Where?
Well, she's injured right now, yeah, but she's been with
How long has she been injured?
I don't know. Quite a while.
How long has she been injured? That's a long injury.
All right, Tony.
Was she having pregnant? I mean,
well, no, she's not a young kid. She's older than me.
Oh, come on now.
She is. She's older than me.
Come on.
Look it up. All right, Tony, this has been mind-blowing. If you fans want to talk about mind-blowing, wait until next month, Survivor Series week. We're going to have not one but two specials. Tony and I actually taped this episode earlier today before the one we're doing now. My mind was blown. The topic of conversation is what Tony did from when he left WWF in 1986 through the time he became homeless. The trip down memory lane this man took us on. You will never forget this episode. Plus, we're hoping to have, for a big WWE pay-per-view weekend, 2 episodes, another surprise for the fans. So Thanksgiving week in November is going to be great for the fans. We have the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive to look forward to. And as always, every WWE pay-per-view weekend, you and I are going to get together at least through WrestleMania and have some fun with the fans. Hopefully you don't need David Reese's psychiatry profession after this episode, as it was kind of depressing, Tony.
What do you think?
It was honest, though.
What do you think of having sex with baboons?
With baboons?
Yeah.
It never really crossed my mind, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, for the Hall of Famer Tony Atlas, I'm Dan Marty. Anything else, Tony?
No, that was it. I was wondering about
right.
the baboons.
Well, he's wondering about the baboons. I'm wondering about Chinese food. Till we speak again, you and yours, be well. Tony, I tell you.
The World Wrestling Federation was live in Bakersfield, California, Wednesday, June the 29th, 1994. In the opening contest, Nikolai Volkov beat Virgil. Sparky Plug with the win over Louis Spicolli. The Smokin' Guns defeated Tom Pritchard and the Barbarian, who replaced Jimmy Del Rey. Duke the Dumpster Drosy victorious over Adam Bomb. Mabel beat Bam Bam Bigelow. IRS with the win over Tatanka via disqualification. And in the main event, Razor Ramon defeated WWF Intercontinental Champion Diesel via disqualification. If you were in Bakersfield Live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our world-renowned Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times